Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you the 2 secrets to a tighter kick and bass sound without using sidechain compression. We're going to make one adjustment to our bass recording to tighten the 2 elements up, and we're going to make one EQ move on both our bass and kick to get the two working together. To begin, let me play you the kick and the bass as they sit in the finished mix, and then we'll solo up our drums and we'll solo up our bass so you can hear the two a little bit more clearly as they work together. Here are the 2 elements inside the finished mix. Now let me solo those two up. So we'll solo our bass track. So we just have a DI and an amp as usual, and then we have all of our drums. So here's just our drums and our bass together. The first thing we need to cover here is a little adjustment to our bass recording or to the actual recording process. One thing you can do to get your bass and your kick drum a little bit tighter is to have your bass sit a little bit behind your kick drum. So let's scroll up so we can see where our kick drums are sitting. Sitting on the beat. Now let's scroll down and see where our bass is sitting. So if we zoom in here, our bass is sitting just behind the beat there. Same thing here, just behind the beat. So what that does is it gives them a little bit of separation so they're not sitting directly on top of each other. If you have two low-end energies sitting on top of each other, they're going to fight each other and they're going to muddy things up a little bit, okay? It's going to be too much competition in one area. By giving them just a little bit of separation, you hear one and then you hear the other, and they go together rather than fighting each other. So just a little bit of separation. And there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either have your bass player, if they're good enough, if they're a solid studio bass player, you can have them play a little bit behind the beat like that. And they'll be able to do that. They'll know what you mean, and they'll know the kind of sound you're going for. The other option is that afterwards, you can always take, like, if you have a beat that's missed there, see this one's right on, you can always just cut before, cut after, and slide your guy over a little bit, just so he's right after the beat there. And that'll help tighten up your kick and your bass sound. Now the second option here, or the second tip, is an actual EQ move to help them sit a little bit more together and to work together, exert the same amount of force in the same frequency range. So we'll start by looking at our bass here. So we're going to pull up our EQ on our bass. So this is our initial EQ. And the big move we're making here to get our kick and our bass sitting together and working together is this low end boost here at 80 hertz. So let's solo up our bass. Let me show you what that sounds like, okay? So we're exaggerating the main fundamental on our bass here, which is around this 80 hertz area. And then everything below that, we're rolling off. So we have got our high pass up to about 70 hertz. So we're not letting all that sub information run through on our bass. We're keeping it tight, we're keeping it clean, and we're just giving a little bit of boost at about 80 hertz. We're at 81.6 here. So we're gonna do that same kind of move on our kick drum. So let's pull up our kick drum here. So this is our last EQ in our kick drum chain. Notice it's very subtle here. All we're doing is about a dB boost in that same area. That's going to help give our bass and our kick a little bit of sameness in the low end so they work together. They're pushing in that same area. So we give them a little bit of separation first. That's with our editing or the way you're recording with your bass player. And then we're giving them a little bit of force in the same frequency range so they're punching together. So we'll solo up our kick drum here, and you can hear with and without this move on our kick drum. We'll start with, and then I'll take it out. So you can hear that punch and that low end weight come in. And again, it's sitting in the same area that we boosted on the bass. So they're going to work together. They're going to sit in that same frequency range there. But they're not going to be competing because we gave them a little bit of separation beforehand. And I just wanted to point out here, the first EQ we have going on our kick drum is rolling everything off below about 50 hertz. So we're cleaning up that sub information again, just making sure nothing's too messy. So before you get them working together, before you get them tight together, you want to make sure each element is sitting tight and clean on its own. That's why we're cleaning up our low end first on each element. So we have our high passes. Then we're getting that little bit of separation, right, with our editing or with your bass player, and then we're giving them a little bit of boost in the same frequency range so they have that same low end energy that's going to hit just a little bit apart. Okay, one more time. We'll play them together, and I will take these two boosts out. So we'll start with, and then I'll go over, and I'll take these two boosts out on the kick and bass. So those two moves came out. Everything got a lot more messy than I thought it was going to get. So everything gets kind of really disjointed. It even happened when I just pulled out that frequency on the kick. Things felt a little bit farther apart. There wasn't the same amount of force going on. So let's put them back in and see how that comes back. See how it changes. So adding them back in, you heard when I kicked the frequency back in on our kick drum, the kick drum pushed out front. We heard more of the low end dominating on the kick drum rather than the bass. So one was taking over. And then we boosted our frequencies up on our bass, and they sat together. They were pushing out same amount of force, so one isn't dominating the low end area. They're working together to make sure the track has a clean, polished, and tight low end. I hope that was helpful for you if you want to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process and you want to learn to optimize your workflow, then I have a gift for you. This is my 7-step mixing checklist. You can download it using the link in the description below. It is a free resource that I want you to have. This will guide you through the mixing process step by step to help you get professional radio-ready mixes without the guesswork and without the hassle. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video.